or handling an immature partner. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 11. Paul was speaking about the natural progression of every human being. Paul said that when I was a child, I speak as a child. I understood as a child. So he's basically letting us know there are two ways, major ways you know somebody is a child. The way they think, okay, their perspectives, the way they process things, and the way they talk. You know, when you look at a child, you realize that they talk and then you know, no, this one there, Yarquah, Onye. And sometimes the way they reason, you know that we're not doing so. Praise the Lord. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So there's something known as childish things. And an adult can behave like a child. Unfortunately, there are so many adults in suit with beard who are no different from our children. In fact, some of them, they are in suit, wearing tie. And it's very prevalent, especially in this generation, this Gen Z generation. Okay, a lot of them are in suit, tie. They can grow so tall. But after having a conversation with them, you know that no, where they enquire, not doing so. Some of them can, as a woman, some of them can come trying to toast you. By the time you finish talking to them, you know that no, there's a problem. This one is too young. The mindset, the mentality is bad, and the way the person also communicates is also very bad. So there's something known as childish ways. I remember some time ago, I think some few months ago, I was in the office one day, and then a woman came to the office to make her inquiries, and apparently she had been deducted. As an insurance person, you should understand her premiums had been deducted, and the premium was just 20 cedis. Now, this woman took a car of 100 cedis to come and fight over 20 cedis. Okay, but she came with a child who had Down syndrome, or a special needs child, and I could see the frustration on her face. And nobody prepares you for having a child with Down syndrome or special needs. It can sap your energy and your strength. Life becomes repetitive and a routine. By the time you wake up in the morning, you're already tired, and you go to bed exhausted. You can get help, but help is costly. And sometimes some of the little things you as a parent overlook, they don't overlook them. They are major victories and milestones for them, because it shows them that at least their child is making progress. The constant therapy session, the emotional shutdowns, the emotional breakdowns, the lonely roads where you cannot take your eyes off the child and you cannot even leave the room. And sometimes the child also fights with you. It's a very terrible place to be. And my prayers are with any mother or father who is handling a child who has special needs. They require extra effort, extra understanding, and extra patience. So when this woman came to the office, I could see her frustration. At a point, she wanted to abandon. She got upset and frustrated and left her child. She abandoned the child on us. And whilst some of my colleagues were upset with her, I told them, don't be upset. She is frustrated, because it is not easy to handle a child who has a special need. Now, in the same way, nobody prepares you for marriage with a spouse who is, or a partner who is not matured emotionally. Every little thing can lead to an argument. And when there's an argument, sometimes you will not hear from them for days. They will not talk to you for days. They just ghost you. They are in the same house with you, but they will ghost you. They won't talk to you for days. things that are supposed to be normal discussions make them upset, and they sulk and throw tantrums. Every little thing, see, some people, their love language is drama. When the relationship has no drama, they don't really feel that the relationship is going somewhere. They want to create a scene, and that is what makes them feel loved. They say it is called Ifiokuma love. So you hear a lady who says that, if a man doesn't beat me, I don't really feel that he loves me. And you see, one thing you need to understand is that maturity is a function of nature and nurture. When I say maturity is a function of nature and nurture, nature basically means your genetic encoding or your biological wiring. You know, there are some people who are naturally empathetic to other people. It comes effortlessly to them. They are naturally very patient people. They understand it. They hardly get angry. And they are people too. They are like volcanoes that are ready to erupt. Every little thing, and then when they explode on everyone. It comes naturally to them. So sometimes it is by nature. It is how God created them and how God made them. It is their natural predisposition. Some people are naturally caring. Others too are naturally they are shut down from everybody. They shut themselves off from relating to people. So the level of maturity of a person can be the result of their nature. That is how God created them. And secondly, it can be the result of nature. Nature means the environment a person grew out from. Now, I tell parents that it is important that as a parent, you understand that the one you are raising is going to be somebody's father and mother. The child whose foolishness you are enabling is going to be somebody's, is going to be daddy and mommy. And somebody said that why? Well, it's because we call them baby. Why wouldn't they behave like babies? He said, babe. So why wouldn't he behave like a baby? So it is important that a parent will understand that the environment you create for the child as a parent can affect or can shape who a child eventually becomes. And sometimes when you see a partner or a spouse who is not matured, go and check. Most of the times it is from home or how they were raised. Sometimes it is because even the parents themselves were not matured. Parents insulting each other in the house. Parents using unprintable words on each other. One parent who was not there and all that. It shapes who the child becomes. You know, our colleagues who are Nigerians, I love them so much. They have a natural survival mentality. Do you know the reason why they have a natural survival mentality? It is because of their population, and two, lack of resources. So everybody is trying to win. And some of you, sometimes because of the home we grew up from, I am against people who don't have resources having a lot of children. Because in Africa, your uncle can have a lot of children, and the reason why they're having a lot of children is because you take care of them. Or they will say, Nyame Bechere. Nyame Bechere. That is how come I have one uncle who keeps giving birth. And when they ask why he's giving birth, oh, but you are there. You take care of them. No sense of responsibility. And some of you naturally, you see, became proxy parent at a young age. Because you were many with few resources. Or some of you, your parents were not around. So at a young age, you became parent, even though at your level of maturity, you were not supposed to have become parent. So how a person, environment a child grows up shapes who a child, how the person, it becomes the lens to which the person views life and even views marriage. especially when it has to do with your caregivers or the ones who took care of you when you were growing up. You see, when you were as a child, when the caregiving was a secured caregiver or secured caregiving, what happened is that you grow up being very stable as a spouse. So when a child is with a family that a girl constantly keeps hearing you are beautiful, when somebody outside comes to tell you are beautiful, you say, oh, I know. But when a child a child is striving for love in the home, the child starts looking for love outside. And sometimes they look for love in the hands of the wrong people. And sometimes they're even looking for love in the hands of their spouse. So their spouse becomes everything to them. I said, oh, you are all I have. Because something was missing at home. So if your spouse is emotionally regulated, it is chances are that it is because there was stability at home. There was security at home. So parents, create that secure environment and a stable environment for your children to grow and become emotionally regulated. When there is a fight in the home, children are the ones who are most affected. Secondly, when it is a preoccupied attachment style, as a parent, what happens is that the child grows up very clingy. So when they are in a relationship with you, every 2 hours they want to talk to you. They can call you 25 times in a day. And when you don't pick, hey, they are throwing tantrum. I knew you didn't love me. And when you ask them, a guy woke up, somebody in the church called me, said, Pastor, this guy I can't be with her. I said, why? He said, Pastor, I saw my phone, 45 missed calls. And I was like, am I holding on to your kidneys? You see, that attachment and clinginess and overly jealousness or overly jealousy, it is because sometimes you go and check at home, it is because there was a problem at home. The parent either avoided, or the caregiving, there was a problem with the caregiving at home. So, and the last one is when you see a child who is overly withdrawn, doesn't show any emotions, it's because sometimes parents avoided any form of relationship with them. So a person's level of maturity can be a function of their nature. That is how God made them, and a function of their nature, the kind of environment they grew up from. Now you see, the problem for many of us is that when we have a child, if I have a child who is 6 years old and the child is weeing, I will seek intervention for the child. I will not say, oh, well, he weeps, but he doesn't poop on the bed, so it's okay. No, we will seek intervention for the child. Now, that child that you are seeking intervention for, that child does not have a covenant with you. But when we get to a point in our marriage where we realize that our partner is emotionally immature, instead of us to seek help and intervention for them, we bash them. You see, if you have a child who is 6 years and not walking, you don't bash the child. You don't take the child to the hospital and say, doctor, slap my child for me. You seek intervention for the child. In the same way, when you unfortunately end up with a spouse or a partner who is not emotionally matured, you need to understand that the one who is more matured has a lot of work to do, has greater responsibility. And the reason why you have greater responsibility is because, you see, this is the person you chose. The question is that there was a problem with you yourself. Because what level of wisdom and maturity were you that made you end up choosing this person as a spouse? And any drunkard who sees another drunkard will know that this is a drunkard. You don't have to tell him, he knows. When I see Chelsea misbehaving in the house, I can look at her and say, no, this one, Yarquah. So how I handle them is different, because I know that by their age, you see, in their world, they think they are matured. She's viewing the world from another lens. I am viewing the world from a more matured lens. So in her world, Charlie, she thinks that she's matured. So if you ended up with an immature spouse, take responsibility for your choices, because you saw it when you were dating them. Listen, if you are dating somebody and you see that the person is emotionally mature, please, it is your decision to decide to go ahead or not. But if you go ahead, you are now telling God that now I have responsibility to handle it. But the problem for many of us is that when we end up with an emotionally immature spouse, we think that we are their parents. That is why some women will tell you that, me, I know I have, you are my first child. You are their first child because Charlie or shower. No, Sean in manner said no, Charlie. The only difference between the two of them is that you are older, but you have beard, but Charlie, you are a big baby. You are a big baby. You should be wearing diapers. I was in the PSA because I'm sure they were wooing. I said, no, no, they be Charlie. I can't. They were to me, especially the last months. When you are dating last months, every little thing, let's break up. They throw tantrums. They throw tantrums. They are sulking. They won't eat food. They are angry. They won't talk to you. They won't pick your calls. You are in the same house with them. You look at them and say, God, you gave me a first baby before I had my own children. Emotionally mature spouses. And let me tell you the truth, to handle an emotionally mature spouse, it's like handling a child who has special needs. They can drain you emotionally. How would you explain a man who uses his child's school fees for my bet? And when you ask him why, he says, why is my money? Does it make sense to you? How would you explain a woman who goes to his boyfriend's house to go and fight the boyfriend's other girlfriend, side chick? Charlie, the world has changed. When we look at some of you and the way you behave, we're like, no. Sometimes when we are giving you birthday present, we should bring you diapers. Because you can get angry and leave the house and we'll not see you for days. Sometimes the way you behave in the house, your children even look at you and say, hey, young papa, they come and ask, mommy, what is wrong with daddy? Because even for their level, even at their level, they know that they will not come this low. I won't do it. I will eat your food. I won't have sex with you. Immaturity. And it is burdensome to have a spouse who is immature. But you see, if unfortunately you end up with an immature spouse, you don't throw them away. You see them as a responsibility, another responsibility, because you chose them. From that level of maturity you had, you chose them. So now it is your responsibility, because you have a covenant with them before the Lord. So in Titus chapter 2, let's look at Titus chapter 2. Are we learning? Learning here? You thought I was going to bash immature people, eh? Titus chapter 2. Verse 3 to 5. It says that the aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not as false accusers, not given to much wine, but teachers of good things. Look at this. Like this. That he said that they may teach the young women how to be sober and how to love their husbands. So there is a how to love your spouse. Older women, by virtue of experience, can help you to navigate what you are going through. That is why, listen, that is why before you get married, I'm telling you the truth, before you get married, make sure that you speak to certain people. I'm currently dealing with an issue where the lady says that the guy doesn't want to marry her again. I asked the lady why. And first of all, so initially I asked, so who counseled? He said, oh, the guy said, well, before we got married, the guy said we don't need any counseling. Because counseling is a waste of time. You see, that should have been a serious red flag for the lady. Somebody who feels that they are too wise in their own world. That was a serious red flag, but she went ahead. And the person has traveled outside the country, says we can't marry. So that they should teach them how to love their husbands. So there was a way you can be taught how to marry. There's a way you can act. You see, if you have a child who is at a certain age and has a deficiency, there are certain skills you acquire to help the child to deal with the deficiency, but not to enable the childishness, but to help the child grow out of that deficiency. In the same way, if you end up with a spouse who is emotionally deficient, you can teach them how to outgrow their deficiency. And Paul is saying that older women, in other words, more experienced people, who have eaten, who know how to chew bones, are your resort. Go to them and let them teach you how they were able to also handle their emotionally unstable spouses. Praise the Lord. Galatians chapter 5. In Galatians chapter 6. Verse 2 and 5. Galatians chapter 2 verse 6 verse 2. It says, bear one another's burden so that you fulfill the law of Christ. The word bear means continuously sustain. The word burden here is a Greek word which means something heavy. So when it comes to marriage, and when you end up with an emotionally unstable spouse, or emotionally immature spouse, what about the recommendation from the Bible is that you bear with them. You bear burdens. So in other words, you that is a more mature spouse, you take more responsibility to help them outgrow their childishness. Are you following me? And the Bible describes it as a heavy responsibility, a heavy burden that can crush you, like taking care of a child who has special needs. Okay, Bible talks about a corporate burden. Okay, so it is now your corporate responsibility. Once you spot or you have a signal that the one I'm ending up with has some level of immaturity, now what do you feel? Now what do you feel? But it says now it is your responsibility to help bear the burden or the heavy load of trying to get them to outgrow their childishness. But look at verse 5. Here he's saying that we should bear each other's burden. But look at verse 5. He said, but every man should also bear his own burden. So there's a role your spouse will play, and there's a role you also have to take responsibility for your own growth. Because you don't leave the burden alone on your spouse, or else they will break down and shut down. So you, as the one who is immature, should get to a point where you also realize that no, there's a problem. I know. I've sat down. I realized that no, I'm deficient in this area. I need to work on it. And sometimes it's not just emotions. Sometimes it can even be financial. You realize that, Charlie, financially, your financial governance is a problem. So what you have to do, you learn. So your spouse is bringing you to his level or her level, but you also have a responsibility to learn to outgrow your childishness. Are you following the story? So it may look contradictory, but it's still the same things. Are you following? In one breath, Paul is saying that we should learn to bear each other's burden. In another breath, Paul is saying that no, there's also another responsibility for the one who is immature. Because Galatians chapter 4 verse 1, look at this. Galatians chapter 4 verse 1. Now I say that the hair, so now he's giving 5 categories or 4 potentials of people. He says, first of all, he's an heir. Do you understand a heir? A heir is somebody who is the next of kin to a throne. As long as he's a child, so there's a heir and there's a child. And it's not different from a servant. So we have also been introduced to a servant. First of all, we have been introduced to a heir. Secondly, we have been introduced to a child. The third, we have been introduced to a servant. And he says that the fourth one, he says, though he is a Lord of all. The word Lord is not Adonai, which is God, but the word Lord is master. So you see 4 categories of people: a child, a heir, a child, a servant, and then Lord. Now, if a heir behaves like a child, he will not be called Lord. Are you following? If a husband starts behaving like a child, the wife will not call you Lord. So the Bible says Sarah called the husband Lord. You will not be called Lord because now imagine Otufo gets angry and says, I will sit on the throne again. Or the king gets angry, he's standing in the midst of people and he starts insulting people there. So the Bible says, woe unto you if your king is a child. So the heir, as long as he's a child, he says that you are not different from a servant. Because you behave like a servant, even though potentially you are the next of kin. But behaviorally, you are behaving like a servant. I said, even though you have a capacity to become a master, but your behavior makes you like a servant. Look at the next verse. But you see, look at this. But it says, but it's under tutors. In other words, he's under tutelage. So this one is speaking to the one who is immature, that first of all, you need tutors. Do you not understand tutors? Tutelage means have some training, mentoring around you. When was the last time you went to somebody who is older than you for advice? Or you went to somebody who has married for years and said, Charlie, Wafa, how do I handle the finances of my home? Do you know that even sex can be taught? Yeah. You see the way all of you are quiet, but as if you don't do it. Even sex can be taught. You don't decide that me the son with you. And that is the danger for a lot of people who are not matured. The decision not to unlearn and relearn. You don't know how to cook. You are getting married. When they ask you, okay, so when you get married, who will cook? You say, oh, what are you saying? I'll go for a servant. It's okay if you have the means. And they be a bit things are. You learn. You need to unlearn and relearn. You don't know how to learn. You don't know how to manage finances. You don't know how to manage children. You learn. He says he's under tutoring. In other words, he's under mentoring. So you mentor yourself till you get to the level where you build capacity for the role that God has assigned you for. And secondly, it says governance. Governance means governance or structure, accountability structure. So have a system around you, have a governance system around you, a structure around you who can call you when you are fooling. In my home, When there's a problem in my home, my wife knows who to call. I also know who to call. One call from them will reset our marriage. And we have decided that whatever advice, counsel they give us is what we will go by. So, first of all, if you are deficient emotionally, if you are deficient in an area, the Bible's recommendation is that one, come under mentoring. Two, come under governorship or have a structure. Who speaks to your marriage, into your marriage? That is why it is very dangerous to marry someone who is not accountable to anybody but themselves. Because one day, Jimmy, one of a friend. And sometimes we advise that the governance system should not be their parents, because parents are known to always stand by their children. Unless a few parents. And look at this. It says, until the time appointed. So there's a time framework where you are expected to grow out of immaturity. So there's a responsibility for your spouse, who is more matured, and there is a personal responsibility, because the word that was used in verse 5, which says that bear your own burden. The word burden, the Greek word is like a soldier's bag, which you can carry yourself. The first one, the Greek word is like a heavy bag, a heavy boulder of rock you cannot carry, where you need people to help you carry. But you see, the point is that people will carry your immaturity for some time, but after some time you also have to take responsibility for your own life and your own maturity, that you learn how to grow yourself, because nobody will grow for you. That is why constantly you need to take stock of your life, to look at the areas in your life where you are deficient and work on it. The unexamined life is not worth living. And sometimes you see, you need governance, because governance provides you feedback. Sometimes when an area that people keep complaining about, it is something you need to work on. If your spouse keep complaining about a certain area, the way you communicate, the way you do things, it means that don't see it as an attack or a personal attack. See it as a feedback to you, to know which areas you need to work on. The problem for us is that when somebody gives us feedback, we think they don't like us, or we think they are complaining too much, or we think they are talking too much. But rather see it as a structure, as a governance system, or a feedback system for you to know which areas you need to work on. So when people constantly keep on saying that, when people constantly keep on saying that, Okuku too much, because there are some people, when they are angry, even if you pour water on them, they will not cool down. They don't have any thermostat. They don't know how to regulate. So constantly seek for feedback. That is why Jesus could come to the disciples and say, who do men say I am? He was seeking feedback. Then after that, he went on and says, but you have worked with you. Who do you also say I am? Jesus sought for feedback. Every leader, if you're a father or a mother or a wife or a spouse, must seek feedback from your spouse, to know which areas you need to work on and upgrade. Because you see, you can be a very good father to your children, but a bad spouse to a bad partner to your spouse. And this is not exclusive to anybody. It can be a pastor, a CEO, a banker, a lawyer. But at home, your wife sees you as a bad spouse. The wife sees that you are not emotionally matured. That is why Abigail could say about her husband Nabal, for I know my husband that he's a fool. And this one, they didn't say it in front of you. You see, when you come home and people are having conversation, the moment people start having conversation, when you come there, they keep quiet. Sending you a signal. Say, Charlie, that something is wrong, you need to work on it. The Bible said that the wife said that even the servant know that my husband is a fool. But I blame her, because one, she should see it is not a competition. She should have brought her husband to the level of maturity she has. And Nabal should also have taken responsibility for his own maturity to mature. But when you get to a point where you feel that your spouse, you see, the Bible, the goal of marriage is that both of you shall become one flesh. You should live, cleave, and become one flesh. One flesh means that there must be a time where both of you go into the same level of maturity that your spouse can represent you. I ask myself, some of you, the spouses you are married to, if you are not there, would they be able to take care of your children? I'm not talking about money. Do they have the emotional regulation to handle your children if unfortunately at your unfortunate demise? It's a huge problem. Because we'll be at the buffet to me, did they attend there? We'll be at the buffet to me, scatter your man. That is how one guy, there was a guy, or driving about, sorry now, will be more the careless. A packet can see if was a car behind messy. But block of coin, nobody will pass. And they will be up on the careless. And one guy, he was coming to church, and then there was, I think the driver, there was a carelessness. He parked his car and went to the other car. Was going to slap, but when they rolled away the mirror, he realized that was his pastor. They were coming to the pastor, came with a different car. He was doing, hey! Also, no person bet you out. Bible says he who cannot govern his own spirit is not worthy to lead. Listen, those of you who are dating, I'm telling you the truth. If you see certain signs and you cannot stand it, you see, if you cannot become a parent to another person, the person's misbehavior, don't go ahead and marry the person. If the person is already showing you childishness, how they handle situations, you don't see any maturity in the way they handle situations. When there's a conflict, you don't see any maturity in the way they handle it. And if you go ahead to marry, it is your cross. You carry it. Put your hands together for Jesus. Shall we break into our groups?